Welcome to the Daily Drop on Pro Ball Daily. I'm Mike.
And I'm Tara. And let me tell you, Mike, what a day in sports we just had. From stunning upsets to absolute dominance, we've got a lot to unpack. But if you're asking me what the biggest head-scratcher is, it has to be Chelsea, right? 7 straight losses? What on earth is happening at Stamford Bridge?
You're not wrong, Tara. That's absolutely wild. But I'm going to throw out an NBA stunner that has me raising an eyebrow even higher. The Oklahoma City Thunder absolutely demolished the Lakers last night, a 23-point blowout, putting up 131 points. And they're sitting at number 1 in our power index with a whopping 77.6 points. That's not just a win, that's a statement. And the Lakers, meanwhile, are clinging to 5th. What does that tell us about the current state of the Western Conference?
Oh, it tells us everything, Mike. OKC has been on a tear, but to take down the Lakers, even a struggling Lakers team, with that kind of dominant performance, scoring 131 points, that's not just a good night. That's a team firing on all cylinders. And it's not like the Lakers are a G League squad. They have stars. To get blown out by 23, that's a defensive lapse, an offensive struggle. It's a complete system failure. I'm starting to think the Lakers are more smoke and mirrors than a true contender this season.
I mean, they're still in our power index top 5, but after that kind of loss, you have to wonder how long they can stay there. And speaking of our power index, can we talk about the Charlotte Hornets at number 2 with 66.6 points? What is going on in Charlotte that has them above the Knicks and Spurs? Are they finally putting it all together, or is this a statistical anomaly that's going to correct itself? I just didn't see that coming from the Hornets this season.
No, you did not, and neither did I, Mike. Charlotte at number 2 is the definition of a dark horse. We haven't been talking about them in the same breath as the Thunder or even the Knicks, but clearly something is clicking. Maybe it's a newfound chemistry. Perhaps a specific player is having an MVP caliber season we're just not paying enough national attention to. But to be ranked second, they must be consistently performing at an elite level against good competition. I'm buying into the Hornets hype train, at least for now.
I'm not entirely sold yet. I need to see a few more weeks of this from Charlotte before I put them in the same conversation as a team like the Thunder. And then you have the Knicks and Spurs rounding out the top 4, which feels a bit more expected for teams that have shown flashes of brilliance. But the Thunder's consistent top-tier performance, especially after that Lakers game, really puts a spotlight on their championship aspirations. If they can drop 131 on the Lakers, they can do it to anyone.
Absolutely. But let's pivot to the Atlanta Hawks for a second, because their season has been a roller coaster from a trend perspective. They shot 55% in February, a minus 10.3 versus their season baseline. Then they jumped to 87% in March, a massive plus 23.5. And then just as quickly, they dropped to 42% in April, a minus 21.5. Mike, what is with this kind of wild inconsistency? Are we talking about a team with deep locker room issues or just struggling to find a rhythm over the long haul of a season?
That, Tara, is the definition of a team that doesn't know what it wants to be. That kind of fluctuation screams lack of leadership, or maybe a coaching staff that can't get them to buy in consistently. You can't be a contender when your performance swings that wildly. One month, you're an elite offensive unit, the next, you're barely treading water. It suggests they're either getting hot from 3 for a stretch or completely losing their offensive identity. It's a massive red flag for any serious playoff aspirations.
It's almost like they have a new team showing up every month. That's not reliable. That's a team that will win some big games purely on talent, but ultimately collapse when the pressure is on.
Moving over to the Diamond, let's talk MLB. The Chicago Cubs are sitting pretty at number 1 in our power index, 65.5 points. They've been a consistent force. But my eye immediately goes to the Oakland Athletics at number 3, 56.9 points. The A's at number 3? That is a huge statement, especially after their 6-2 win over the Orioles today. Are they finally getting past all the off-field drama and actually building a competitive roster?
Mike, I'm just as shocked as you are. The A's at number 3 feels like a typo. They've been the poster child for a rebuild that never quite lands and constant relocation talks. But a 6-2 win against Baltimore, combined with that power index ranking, means they are doing something right. Are we witnessing a resurgence, or is this just a lucky streak before they inevitably fall back down to earth? I have to be skeptical. This feels like the kind of story that fades by midseason.
I'm with you on the skepticism. I mean, they're ahead of the Tampa Bay Rays and Atlanta Braves in the power index, 2 perennial contenders. That just doesn't compute for me. Yes, a 6-2 win is solid, but it's one game. We need to see more. Now, the Diamondbacks, another team with some interesting trends. They started March at 42%, up to 58% in April, and then plummeted to 25% in May. But today, Merrill Kelly posted a 70 MLB rating in a tight 1-2 loss to the Mets. So even when they're losing, individual talent is shining through.
Merrill Kelly is a warrior out there. That's a fantastic performance despite the team loss. It speaks to individual grit. But the Diamondbacks trend is another case of a team that can't find consistency. March, April, May swings like that, it shows flashes of what they could be, but then they just can't sustain it. I'm wondering if it's a bullpen issue, or maybe just hitting slumps at different times. You can't win a division with that kind of volatility. But I'll give Kelly credit. Holding the Mets to 2 runs is impressive, even in a loss.
Absolutely. And in other MLB action, we saw the White Sox take down the Mariners 6-1, the Reds beat Houston 3-1, and the Twins edged out Cleveland 2-1. So some tight contests and some decisive wins. But the A's sitting at number 3, that's the story I'm still trying to wrap my head around. It just makes me wonder if there's an underlying factor we're missing with them.
Speaking of things I'm trying to wrap my head around, let's switch gears to the NHL. The Vegas Golden Knights are still riding high at number 1 in our power index, 73.2 points, with the Carolina Hurricanes right on their heels at 72.8. Those two are absolute elite. But then at number 4, the San Jose Sharks, 60 points. Mike, the Sharks. This is a team that has been rebuilding, to put it kindly, for a few years. What is happening in San Jose?
You nailed it, Tara. The Sharks at number 4 is probably the biggest shock across all the leagues today. Vegas and Carolina are expected. They're consistent contenders. Florida and Buffalo in the top 5? Sure, they have talent. But San Jose? They just lost 5-1 to Minnesota today, so the power index might be lagging behind immediate results. But still, to be ranked that high, they must have put together a seriously impressive run recently. Is this a sign that their long-term rebuild is finally starting to pay dividends, or is this a peak before a very steep drop? I'm leaning towards the latter given today's score.
I'm always hesitant to believe in a team that shows up so surprisingly high, especially when they just took a 5-1 drubbing. That Minnesota Wild win over Colorado, too, 5-1, that's a big statement against a team like the Avalanche. But back to the Sharks, I think it's a classic case of getting hot at the right time. Maybe a few players overperforming, or they found a system that's confusing opponents for a short period. I'll need to see them sustain this for months, not just weeks, to truly believe they're a top-tier NHL team.
Yeah, their index score might be high based on past performance, but today's results certainly makes you question it. And then the Boston Bruins, a team with an even more bizarre trend than the Hawks or Diamondbacks. They shot an insane 91% in January, crushing their season baseline by 34.1%. 91%, Tara, that's almost unfathomable. But then they dropped to 54% in March and a measly 33% in April. What on earth happened to the Bruins after January? Did they run out of luck, or did teams just figure them out?
That's not just a trend, Mike. That's a statistical anomaly followed by a total collapse. 91% shooting for a month is historical. It makes me wonder if there was some incredible puck luck, or if every single shot was a highlight reel goal, or maybe their goalies were just absolutely brick walls during that month and the offense was also clicking. But to fall from that to 33% is a complete meltdown. They can't possibly be a serious contender if they can't even maintain a semblance of consistency. It speaks to a profound lack of depth or a complete mental collapse. They went from scoring on everything to scoring on nothing.
It's almost like they used up all their goals in January. It's a shocking drop-off. You just can't explain that with normal ebbs and flows of a season. Something fundamentally changed with that team.
Let's transition to the pitch, shall we? MLS first. The New England Revolution are commanding at number 1 with 81.6 points. They've been consistently strong. Real Salt Lake at number 2, but they did fall to Dallas today, 3-1. That's an upset given their ranking.
It is, Tara. RSL at number 2 and losing to Dallas 3-1, that's definitely a point to discuss. It shows that even top-ranked teams can have off days, or maybe Dallas just had their number. But the real stunner for me today in MLS was the Portland Timbers demolishing Sporting Kansas City 6-0. 6-0. That's not just a win, that's a statement, a complete dismantling of an opponent. That kind of scoreline sends shockwaves through the league.
Absolutely. 6-0 is a rare beast in soccer. It says the Timbers are clicking, their offense is electric, and they smelled blood and went for it. That's the kind of win that can ignite a season. But then we look at the trends and it's a bit of a grim picture for some other teams. Columbus Crew and Inter Miami CF are both abysmal in clutch games, sitting at 13% and 38% respectively. That's a huge drop from their baselines. And Austin FC, terrible with 5+ days rest. Mike, what does it say about a team that can't perform when the pressure is on, or when they've had time to prepare?
It tells me they're mentally weak, Tara, or perhaps their coaching staff isn't preparing them adequately for those high-pressure, tight situations. For Columbus to be at 13% in clutch games, that's a huge minus 17.5 versus baseline. That means they're constantly dropping points they should be securing. It's the difference between being a playoff team and missing out. And Austin FC not performing well with rest, that's just bizarre.
Most teams thrive on rest, allowing them to recover and strategize. It suggests a lack of focus, or perhaps they overthink things when given too much time off.
Yeah, the rest stat to Austin is really curious. Is it a lack of intensity when they're not in a rhythm, or does the coach over-strategize? Very odd. Moving to the EPL, Mike, we have to talk about Chelsea. Our stat of the day, on a 7 straight losses. A club in crisis. And today, a 1-1 draw against Liverpool, which I guess breaks the losing streak, but it's still not a win. What is going on at one of the biggest clubs in the world?
Chelsea is a dumpster fire right now, Tara. There's no other way to put it. 7 straight losses, an inability to score consistently, defensive breakdowns. A 1-1 draw with Liverpool might stop the bleeding of the losing streak, but it doesn't solve their fundamental issues. They've been cycling managers, spending huge amounts of money, and getting absolutely no return. It's a complete failure from top to bottom, from ownership down to the players on the pitch. They need a total reset. This is relegation form, not championship form.
I'm just astonished. This isn't a team that lacks talent on paper.